Hi, my name is Tim Cover, and I'm here to give you an instructional period on the M16A2 service rifle, specifically with regards to Marine Corps Officer Candidate School standards and understanding. This is not exactly the rifle that you'll be issued at OCS. At OCS, you'll be receiving the M16A4 service rifle. The M16A2 is more or less identical. The only major differences being a change in the handguard system, and instead of a carry handle, you'll have a flip-up sight. But otherwise, these rifles are identical. Before we begin, the characteristics of an M16 are a lightweight, magazine-fed, gas-operated, air-cooled, shoulder-fired weapon system, also known by the keyword LM gas, as seen right here. Whenever asked for the characteristics of the M16, that will be your answer, LM gas. Before we get into weapons handling and learning about how to use the M16, how to disassemble the M16, and how to clean the M16, first we're going to talk about weapons safety. There are 4 weapon safety rules, also known by the key phrase, treat, never, keep. Treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Never point your weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. Keep your fingers straight and off the trigger until you are ready to fire, and then keep your weapon on safe until you intend to fire. The safety on the M16 is located on the left side of the weapon right here, as indicated by this lever. When the lever is facing forward, it is on safe. When the lever is facing upwards, then it is on semi-automatic fire, meaning for every single pull of the trigger, you will fire 1 round. And then when the lever is facing to the rear, the weapon is on 3-round burst, meaning for every pull of the trigger, you will fire 3 rounds. At Officer Candidate School, the only authorized mode of fire is either semi-automatic or keeping the weapon on safe. Until you are ready to engage the enemy, until you're ready to send rounds down range, you will keep the weapon on safe at all times and your finger off the trigger at all times. Also understand that whenever you are handling the weapon system, you always point the barrel in a safe direction, never at your peers. I'm currently alone in the instruction room, so I am free to point the barrel wherever needed for this period of instruction. Next, with the M16, we will talk about the 4 conditions in which the weapon is maintained. The conditions are used so that you can maintain certain levels of security and safety depending on your environment. The default setting for the M16 is known as Condition 4. Condition 4 is the safest setting in which to keep your weapon system. Condition 4 is described as no magazine inserted, no round in the chamber, safety on, ejection port cover closed, bolt forward. So this is described as the magazine, which is this 30-round box magazine, which is a STANAG magazine, which is what will be issued to you at OCS. However, when you go to TBS, you will most likely be issued PMAGs. However, it is the same exact system. With Condition 4, the magazine is not inserted in the weapon. Next, you'll notice the bolt is forward in the weapon system. However, if I put a bolt to the rear, there is no round in the chamber and the chamber is empty. For Condition 4, the bolt is sent forward and the ejection port cover on the side is closed and the safety is kept on. This is the safest way to transport your rifle and to maintain your rifle. Whenever you are moving around base or whenever you are in garrison, not out in the field, your weapon is in Condition 4. However, when you move into the area of operations and you are imminently prepared to do your sulis or imminently prepared for hostile contact, then you move to what's known as Condition 3. The only difference between Condition 3 and Condition 4 is the insertion of your box magazine. Your box magazine, filled with ammunition, in this case it is empty, is then inserted into your M16, like so. When inserting your magazine, give it a tap to ensure that it is seated properly. You can even give it a tug. At this point, the weapon is in Condition 3. There is still no round in the chamber. If I pull the bolt to the rear slightly, you'll notice that there is still no round. The ejection port cover is closed and the safety is on. Condition 3 can be reiterated as magazine inserted, no round in the chamber, bolt forward, ejection port cover closed, safety on. The next condition is known as Condition 2. Condition 2 does not apply. Condition 2 can only apply to belt-fed weapon systems such as the M250 cal, which requires the bolt to be racked twice in order to seat a round properly. This, however, does not apply to the M16, so when asked for Condition 2, you simply say Condition 2 does not apply to the M16A4 or the M16A2 service rifle. Next is Condition 1. The only difference between Condition 3 and Condition 1 is you then put a round in the chamber. For the purpose of this period of instruction, I will not rack the bolt all the way to the rear, as the magazine is empty and it will lock the bolt to the rear. But I will give a demonstration of the transition from Condition 3 to Condition 1. From Condition 3, you will simply rack your charging handle to the rear, and then you will release it, sending the bolt forward. At this point, notionally, when you pull back and perform a brass check, there will be a brass in the chamber. Then you close the ejection port cover. The weapon is now Condition 1. Condition 1 is used when going out into the wire or when imminent contact with the enemy is expected. It is the most battle-ready condition in which to maintain your weapon. Condition 1 is the least safe of the 4 conditions and is only used in a hostile AO. One other thing I will describe is how to perform the brass check. Whenever you go to condition 1 in a combat environment, it is very important to perform a brass check. The way you perform a brass check is by racking back the charging handle only slight distance so that the inner chamber is exposed and you can see whether a round has been loaded or not. This is crucial because oftentimes people will rack back their M16s in order to load a round, and then the bolt will not pick up a round and they will be firing on an empty chamber, at which point with contact with the enemy will result in a malfunction. So it's very important to brass check your weapon before leaving the wire to ensure that it is in fact in condition 1 and not in condition 3. Again, that is slightly pulling back the charging handle so as to not extract the round in the chamber, and then visually checking to ensure that there's a round inserted in the chamber. Next, we will talk about modes of transport for the M16A2 service rifle. For the M16 service rifle, there are 3 authorized modes of transport at Marine Corps OCS. However, in the fleet, there will be others. For the sake of this period of instruction, we will only discuss those that are authorized at OCS. At OCS, the first method is known as the strong side muzzle up. For the strong side muzzle up, you will grab the sling with your strong arm. In this case, I'm right-handed, so I'm grabbing it with my right arm and placing the rifle over your shoulder as so. You are constantly maintaining control of the sling and so are maintaining control of the rifle. This is the mode of transportation that is most preferred for long distance rucking, as it gets the rifle out of your way and your other hand is free to access your water system or whatever else you need on your person, while still maintaining the accessibility of the rifle in the event of needing to use it. When needing to use the rifle, when needing to bring it back around to the front, you simply take your other hand and you reach underneath your armpit and grab that handguard. Again, it is crucial to maintain positive control of the weapon at all times. When you grab the handguard of the weapon, you will then pull the weapon around your arm, releasing the sling, and then bringing the weapon back to port arms. This is the only authorized method of transitioning to and from strong side muzzle up. It is crucial that you do this because at OCS you will get hammered if you do not maintain this level of control with the weapon. The next mode of transportation is called weak side muzzle down. For weak side muzzle down, you will bring the weapon pointing downwards like so. You will then, same thing, grab the sling and punch your arm straight through the sling, bringing it around your shoulder. Again, maintaining positive control of the sling at all times so the weapon is here. This has the same effect as strong side muzzle up. However, this mode of transportation is better preferred for rainy weather in order to prevent the risk of lightning striking your barrel, as well as getting your barrel dirty. As well as when mounting vehicles such as buses, you will go weak side muzzle down. Just like when transitioning from strong side muzzle up back to port, you will transition by grabbing the handguard with your non-dominant hand and bringing it back around to the front. The last mode of transportation is cross-body muzzle down. This is probably the most preferred method of transportation for the M16 weapon system when it is not in active use, such as during your LRCs. You will grab the weapon with your non-dominant hand, take your dominant hand, slide it through the sling like so, and bring it around your head. As such, you'll notice that the stock is at the upper part of my back, and the weapon can securely and safely hang around my body, and my hands are free to do what is required, such as working on my maps, my 5-paragraph order, or briefing the rest of my squad. This isn't a very efficient way of maintaining the safety of your rifle across your body while maintaining freedom of movement with your hands, and is highly recommended for things like the LRC. Next, we will be discussing the types of carries for the M16 service rifle. Now, the carries vary depending on what threat level that you are currently expecting in your present situation. So there are 3 authorized carries at OCS. The first carry is the tactical carry. The tactical carry is itself. You are bringing the rifle into what's called your workspace, meaning the stock is tucked underneath your elbow. At this point, you have positive control of the weapon with one hand at a point of contact with your elbow. From here, you can grab the rifle as such and maintain control of it this way. This way you can distribute the weight and not exhaust yourself over a long period of time. And then second, you can access your LBV or your other systems and be able to either perform a tactical reload or other forms of things that you need to do, either accessing a map or something else that you need to do. The only issue with this carry is that you use it when there's no threat imminent in the AO, even though you can theoretically quickly engage the enemy. It's not generally advised for any environment such as like your Sulu 1s or Sulu 2s. This is really only a carry that you'll use during periods of instruction, like during briefs and stuff like that. The only important thing to know is that this is the tactical carry, and it's used when you don't want to fatigue yourself and maintain control of the weapon. The second authorized carry is called the alert carry. The key word here, or key phrase, being alert to the dirt, meaning your barrel is pointed straight to the dirt, the weapon is pointing down, you have control of the weapon, and you have it. I personally like to keep my weapon canted to the side, so that way you have full visibility in front of you, so the weapon is not directly up in front of you. And with this carry, essentially you're able to engage the enemy quickly if needed, but the weapon is out of the way and pointed in a safe direction, and you're able to move freely with it. When you're out patrolling, doing your silly ones and silly twos, your weapon will be in the alert carry. The last carry is known as the ready carry. The ready carry is when there's a threat currently imminent and you are currently ready to engage. You're bringing the rifle up, not fully sighted in, however, just a little under so you can still maintain full visibility, but you have the weapon system up at the ready, and then you're ready to engage hostiles. One thing I advise for the ready carry is to take your sling, such as the sling that you'll be given at OCS, which are parade slings, bringing your arm and wrapping your arm around the sling, just like the J-hook that you use during the obstacle course. The reason I like to do this is so that when you're in the ready carry and you're moving through, you have positive control of the weapon and it acts as a brace and a little bit more contact for you to be able to keep that rifle shouldered and your eyes on target. That way you can focus and have your other arm free to do whatever you need to do, either give hand signals or communicate with the rest of your squad and be able to quickly re-engage and get back onto the target. Whenever carrying the rifle, it is critical and important to know that if your rifle does come with a carrying handle on top, the name carrying handle is very deceiving. You will never at any point in time actually carry the rifle by the carrying handle. The reason for this is with the M16A2 service rifle model, the carrying handle is affixed to the Picatinny rail using a screw system, meaning that if you were to grab the carrying handle and move it around, you risk throwing off the battle sights on the rifle and throwing off the zero. So it is important to know that you will never actually use the carry handle on your M16. Additionally, when carrying the carry handle, the rifle, because of its point of balance, will be pointed outwards and not downwards. So as a result, you risk flagging the rest of your comrades. So there's several types of malfunctions that you can encounter with the M16. The first step with the malfunction is obviously to pull the trigger. When you pull the trigger and you hear a click and nothing happens, what you do is you cant the weapon system to the side and observe. You observe the chamber to see what the situation is with the bolt, and generally you can determine what type of malfunction it is depending on the placement of the bolt. If the bolt is placed forward, then you might have a situation where you have potentially a hang fire or a misfire or a faulty round, or the round wasn't seated properly. The solution for a bolt forward situation or malfunction is to perform what's called an immediate action drill. The immediate action drill, the key phrase being tap, rack, bang. You're going to bring the weapon into your workspace as such, tap the magazine to ensure that the magazine is seated properly, rack the bolt to the rear. In my situation, the magazine is empty, so the bolt locked to the rear. And then bang, sight in your rifle, and then engage the enemy once again. It is also crucial to note that at any point in time when you are not actively engaging the enemy, you are bringing the weapon system back on safe. So whenever you observe the magazine, before you bring that weapon into your workspace, you're throwing the rifle back on safe. The second type of malfunction is called a bolt lock to the rear malfunction. So bang, 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 click, you cant the rifle to the side, and then you observe that the chamber is empty and that your bolt is locked to the rear. What this means is that your magazine or other ammunition feeding source is out of ammunition. The solution for this simply is to remove the magazine, grab a fresh magazine with ammunition in it, insert said magazine, and then to tap the bolt release paddle here on the side, which then sends the bolt forward, close the dust cover, and then re-engage the enemy. For the last malfunction, I'll be using a dummy round to simulate a brass in the chamber malfunction. So for a brass in the chamber malfunction, it means when you take a round and either have a double feed or occasionally something like a stovepipe, and I'll demonstrate both of these. So bang, 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 click. I then look to observe, and when I look inside the chamber, I can see that there is brass in the chamber obscuring it. So the solution for this is to remove the ammunition source, in this case the magazine, to attempt to lock the charging handle to the rear, which is done by putting your thumb on the bottom nipple of the bolt release catch, pulling back the charging handle all the way, locking it to the rear, ensuring that it is stored properly. Next, you are going to take your fingers and stick them either in the magazine well or through the ejection port, and you're going to attempt to dislodge that round, as so. Set the round to the side, grab your ammunition source, send the bolt forward, and then you're good to go. And that's how you deal with most malfunctions. Another commonly seen malfunction is known as the stovepipe. This is when the round fails to extract properly and you get a round sticking out like such. This is the exact same process as the previous situation where you remove the magazine, attempt to lock the bolt to the rear, and the round should fall out on its own. Whenever dealing with malfunctions, it is critical to remain calm in the situation and to evaluate what is going on with your weapon system. Take a second to seek cover, put your weapon on safe, and observe, and try to figure out what exactly is not functioning, and try to solve that situation by reverse engineering the problem. If you see that the bolt is forward, then you can surmise that the round in the chamber is either A, not present, or it is present and is not functioning properly, and you need to replace it with a functioning round. The way you do so, charging the handle. Or, for example, seeing that the bolt is locked to the rear and knowing that you're out of ammunition and need to reload. So at the end of the day, malfunctions just depend on your ability to stay calm and to solve the problem in front of you. All right. Next, we're going to talk about weapon disassembly and reassembly. The M16 is a very simple weapon to disassemble and reassemble once you have it figured out. So the first step is to separate the lower and upper receiver. The first step is to ensure that the weapon is empty. You do so by pulling the charging handle to the rear, ensuring that the chamber is empty, and looking actually inside the chamber. You can either stick a finger in there or observe it. Once you know that the chamber is empty and the weapon is unsafe, you're ready to proceed. Turn the weapon so that the ejection port cover is facing downwards. You then take either a spare round or your cleaning rods, and you push in the receiver retaining pins on either side of the weapon, one located here and the other located here. When removing the pins, you can flip the rifle over again and pull them out the rest of the way, and the two receivers should cleanly separate, like so. Next, you're going to remove the buffer and the buffer spring. You're going to take your round or cleaning rod, and you're going to push down on this little nipple right here. However, be advised that for an actual M16, as this is a training M16, there will be a hammer here that will get in the way, and the hammer needs to be depressed to the rear before pulling out the buffer tube and buffer spring. You will push down the nipple and be advised that it is about to jump out, so be prepared for that, like so. Then you will simply pull it outwards and upwards away from the nipple. Separate the two pieces and set them to the side. You are then done with the lower receiver. For the upper receiver, you're going to pull back on the charging handle, grabbing the bolt, and removing the charging handle from the rifle as such. At this point, you can set the upper receiver to the side. You can also set the charging handle to the side here. Next, you are going to look on the side of your bolt carrier group and look for the firing pin retaining pin. Pull that out with a fingernail and set that to the side. Be very careful not to lose this, as this is one of the most important parts of the M16 and a part that everyone frequently loses. Next, you're going to turn the bolt upside down and catch the firing pin out the bottom, which is going to fall out of this hole in the bottom. You are then going to take your cam lugs here on the front, a part that moves back and forward as seen. You're going to ensure that they're pushed all the way to the rear. And then you see this little rectangle here, you're going to rotate it so that it is lengthwise. This way you can pull it straight out of the bolt carrier group, as such. You then grab the actual bolt itself and pull it out of the bolt carrier group. At this point, you have fully disassembled the M16. Cleaning the M16, you have a series of tools at your disposal. At OCS, you'll be given a cleaning rod. Here I have a cleaning snake. You'll be given an eyelet in which to put cleaning rags and cloths. You'll be given a bore brush as well as a chamber brush. The chamber brush is notably larger and will not fit inside the barrel itself, but however is designed to clear the chamber. You'll also receive CLP. This is not the CLP you receive at OCS. I highly recommend using only Marine Corps issued CLP. Even though you can get access to other CLP at the MCX, only use your issued CLP. In terms of cleaning your weapon system, the first step, I always start with the bolt carrier group. With the bolt carrier group, it's important to note which parts actually make contact with the rifle. These parts will be as such. The side right here on the top portion, as well on the bottom, this slide portion on the bottom, and these grooves. These are the only real parts that make hard metal on metal contact, and I highly recommend lubricating these parts. When lubricating the M16, all you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of CLP on your finger, like such, and you are going to gently apply a very thin coat. onto the actual bolt parts themselves. You do not want to drown your weapon in CLP because that will then result in the weapon being too sticky to function, which will then attract dirt and can actually be detrimental to the cleanliness of the rifle. Next, cleaning out the actual bolt itself. Now for the bolt itself, the areas that get the dirtiest are inside the bolt right here underneath the extractor. Also inside the bolt where the firing pin goes into right here. I highly recommend getting Q-tips and cleaning out the inside with Q-tips on the front and rear. And then additionally, another area that gets very dirty is the inside groove of the charging handle up here. And cleaning that out with Q-tips or with baby wipes as well. Now for reassembly, it is very important to ensure that you have all the parts reassembled in the right order. So you're going to take your bolt carrier group and your bolt. Now for your bolt, notice that there is a little ball, a little circle at the very bottom of the bolt. That is the extractor, and what that does is that punches out the round that gets caught on the extractor lip up here. So you're going to take your bolt and ensure that your bolt carrier group, and take your bolt and put your bolt inside the bolt carrier group, like so, ensuring that the little ball is inserted on the bottom left-hand side. The reason being, the round has to get extracted this way to the top right, so you make sure that it punches it out from the bottom left. You're also going to ensure that on the side, it's not really visible with the lighting here, that there is a hole that rotates around, that the hole is lined up with this groove. At that point, you take your lug and you're going to insert it like so, and then rotating it so that it is widthwise facing outward, like such, and pull the lug all the way forward. A quick way to check to make sure that you have it inserted properly is to push it back and flick it forward like a wand, and it should move forward. Next, you are going to take your firing pin and your bolt carrier group. You're going to take your bolt carrier group and hold it upside down and put the firing pin in straight from the top while ensuring to cover these holes on the side with your hand. Like so. You take your firing pin retaining pin, push it in from the sides, and you've just reassembled your bolt carrier group. Another incredibly important area to clean is the inside of the chamber right here. So the way you clean that is by taking your bore brush and attaching it to the cleaning rods and inserting it into the chamber all the way so that this wide part at the side can access the star chamber and get behind each individual lug and tooth. I also highly recommend using baby wipes to clean away the large chunks of carbon. This is an area that on all your rifle inspections will be one of the first areas to get checked, as well as this back wall right here. Ensuring that these areas are clean will ensure that you will do well on your weapon inspection. This next step is tricky because a lot of people don't pay attention. It's very important to pay attention to this next step. You're going to take your charging handle. You're going to take your charging handle and you're going to insert it into not necessarily the top groove here like you would think, but through the main hole through the side, and you're going to slide it along the top of the receiver until it gets caught on the inside groove, like so. You're not going to push it in all the way. You're going to push it in about halfway, just enough where it stays stable. Then you're going to grab your bolt carrier group and you're going to take the gas piston and put the gas piston along the trench caused by the charging handle. It's very important to remember, and this is something that a lot of people forget for whatever reason, that the lugs on the bolt carrier group are facing downrange, down towards the barrel, like so. You then reassemble the rifle by simply pushing the two parts in, and you have the upper receiver fully assembled. Next, it's very important to remember to assemble the lower receiver. A lot of people, for whatever reason, under pressure, forget to assemble the lower receiver and end up slapping on the upper receiver and lower receiver without the buffer spring in there. And they ended up getting their rifle stuck, and we needed to get an armorer to come by to help separate the parts. So the first step is to put the actual buffer back into the spring, and you're simply going to reinsert it into the hole and just aggressively push it back in. Then push it in with your thumb until you hear it click into place. The last step is to take your upper and lower receivers, reassemble the two parts, push in the locking bolts on the side, and then your rifle is reassembled. After cleaning your rifle, it's very important to perform what's known as a functions check. The functions check ensures that everything in the rifle is assembled correctly. The way you perform a functions check is by putting the rifle on fire, pulling the trigger so that you hear the hammer go forward and strike the firing pin. Next, you're going to hold down on the trigger without letting go and charge the rifle once, release it, and then you release the trigger and you should hear an audible clunk. That clunk sound is the sound of the trigger resetting, which shows you that all the parts are reassembled correctly. Next, you're going to take the rifle and put it on burst by ensuring that it's pointed to the rear. Same deal, pull the trigger. You hear the audible click of the hammer moving forward. Then you're going to rack the rifle 3 times. At that point, you release the trigger, hearing an audible clunk. And that ensures that the burst fire mode on your rifle is also functioning properly because you've assembled all the parts properly. Then put your rifle on safe and your rifle is good to go. I hope you found this brief instruction on the M16A2 service rifle useful. If at any point in time you have any other further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below.